A few years ago, a venerated and former Saskatchewan journalist by the name of Dale Eisler wrote a book about Saskatchewan. Here's an excerpt. Saskatchewan is more than a province. It's a state of mind. For people who live there and those of us who have left, Saskatchewan is about something that reaches deeply into our identity. It is personal. It goes to our sense of self. The starting premise is rooted in the powerful notion Saskatchewan people share, the belief that there is something unique about their province, that to be from there is special. But with this hindsight of history, it is evident that through its first 100 years, Saskatchewan has never equaled its promise. Undeniably, Saskatchewan is haunted by a sense of unfulfillment. Eisler goes on to say, the province and its people are constantly striving for something greater, some rightful destiny that will allow Saskatchewan to take its place among the great provinces of the nation. At its core, Saskatchewan is a hopeful place, he writes. Its people filled with pride about their home and the determination to unlock a greater potential. This belief in a greater future is at the core of the Saskatchewan identity. He says it is rooted in the founding myth of the province, portrayed as a place of boundless potential. It remains a source of pride for those from Saskatchewan whose commitment to their province is rooted in the challenges they have overcome, the communities they have built, and the better future they believe awaits them. Dale Eisler wrote this book just really a few years ago, in 2006. And I think it's an excellent description of the Saskatchewan spirit. The only problem is, Dale, who's a friend and a very accomplished diplomat now for Canada and the United States, Dale didn't believe it. He didn't necessarily believe in this identity. He used the word myth. You heard me cite that in the quotation. And he went on to write, as Saskatchewan enters its second century, the province's future remains arguably more uncertain and perhaps less hopeful than ever. Now, in fairness to Dale Eisler, there were many others in the province at the time who felt the same, who wondered whether we could be permanently a half province, who openly questioned whether our population could grow even at the national average. Simply put, there were those of us who believed that Saskatchewan's place was not amongst the great provinces of the nation, that our destiny was at best mediocrity. Today, I'm here to tell you what you have told me, what you already understand, what you know, and those you represent know. They were wrong then. They are wrong today. Mr. Eisler got it half right. Saskatchewan is a special place of boundless potential. Our people are constantly striving for something greater, something better. The belief of a greater future is at the core of Saskatchewan's identity. But where Mr. Eisler and maybe some others went wrong was in the belief that this would never come to pass, that our time would never come, that this was next year country. Ladies and gentlemen, not because of the government, more because of you and the people you represent, Saskatchewan's time has come. And next year country is this year country. Consider the evidence. This year our province is forecast to lead the nation in economic growth. Right now, this year, Saskatchewan is leading the nation in population growth. And this year, our population will continue to grow as it has every single year since Mr. Eisler wrote his book. In fact, over those 4 years, Saskatchewan has grown by 55,000 people. That's equivalent to our third largest city. Hello, Moose Jaw. Hello, Prince Albert. There are 4,200 more people working in Saskatchewan than there was a year ago. Full-time jobs are up 7,800. Private sector jobs up 11,000 in the last year. And people are benefiting. Wages are up across the province. Stats Canada reported last year that our weekly average earnings grew at a pace that was number one in the country, and that we are now only second in terms of the weekly average earnings but we're third, to Alberta and Ontario. Saskatchewan's unemployment rate stands at 4.9%. We're tied for the lowest in the country. In 2010, housing starts in Saskatchewan urban centers increased by 55%. Compared to 2009, that was the second highest percentage growth in the country, well above the national average. RBC predicts Saskatchewan will have the highest rate of economic growth in both 2011 and 2012, and they also expect employment to grow by 2%. That would be about 10,000 jobs in 2011 and 12,000 jobs in 2012. What about our finances? Well, we made some tough decisions last year, and we caused you to make some tough decisions last year, but they were part of a plan, a fiscal program. And the results are in. Standard & Poor's just last week, a major credit rating agency in the international financial community, improved its credit rating outlook of AA positive for your province of Saskatchewan, from stable to positive. And your Saskatchewan was the only province in the Dominion of Canada that received a credit rating upgrade. A few weeks ago, the CFIB, the Federation of Independent Business, released a survey of their members. They asked the businesses in our province, small businesses, as you know, a few questions. Here's the result of one of them. 84% of the small businesses they surveyed see a brighter future for young people in Saskatchewan. Get this. Just 8 years ago, in 2003, they asked the same question of their membership. They got a polar opposite result. In 2003, 83% of small business owners, the heart of the economy of the province, believed that young people would not have a bright future in Saskatchewan. Our time has come. Next year country is this year country. And as I mentioned, the reason for that goes beyond the government. Hopefully we're helpful and not a hindrance to this transition. But it's credit to people in this room and those you represent. It's credit to municipal leaders who across this province are on the front lines of growth in this new Saskatchewan and dealing with the challenges of growth in this new Saskatchewan. And we have and we will face challenges, notwithstanding the transition that we're enjoying. One of the challenges of growth is housing. We've already talked about it today. We're making progress, but not enough in the province. There are 860 new doors, so to speak, in the province since, over the last 3 years. There's 1,000 more under construction. There should be roughly 1,000 coming with the Head Start program, about 200 facilitated through Habitat for Humanity programming, some important programming we've done to help those most vulnerable with respect to housing issues, but more needs to be done, and more will be done. We have faced financial challenges, especially last year, even in the new Saskatchewan. We weren't immune to the worldwide recession, and we had some potash issues. We always seem to have potash issues, mostly good, but last year was a bit trying. And so I came before all of you, and I made a request. I asked for patience that the government probably didn't deserve, and understanding that the government didn't deserve. Because I said it would take us a year longer than we hoped to get to the full revenue sharing that we have committed to, that we had agreed to, that we had negotiated, Alan, in good faith. And you were generous. And you were patient. I said at the time that it was difficult for us to do, but much more difficult for all of you as a result of the decision that we took. It was difficult in no small measure because we worked hard as a relatively new government to keep our promises, to do the things that we said we would do. And so I'm much happier to be able to confirm today, for the public record and before the delegates of this convention, that we will deliver 1 full point of the provincial sales tax to Saskatchewan communities in the form of municipal revenue sharing in this budget year. In so doing, we will deliver the largest increase in revenue sharing in the history of our province. In fact, since our government took office in 2007, we will have increased municipal revenue sharing by $89.5 million, or just over 70%. Urban municipalities alone have seen more than $71 million of that amount meaning an increase of 105.7% in funding. I can promise you this, delegates, there isn't another area of government that has received a doubling in its funding in 3 years. And that's on top of a number of other measures which we've talked about in the past. Here at SUMA in Saskatoon, we were able to announce the Municipal Economic Enhancement Program, $100 million, no strings attached for infrastructure. I said at the time we didn't need a program. The program was out amongst the delegates. The program were municipalities who knew where this money was needed. And some, by the way, outside the province questioned that, asked me about it, and I took a wait-and-see attitude, as did our government, and SUMA came through. Municipalities came through. They put that money to quick use. They put it to important uses in your communities. We announced a number of them together. And I just want to thank you for that, because if we ever have the chance to go down that road again, we have a good template, a template that was struck as a result of a partnership of trust between the government and SUMA. There was the Saskatchewan Infrastructure Growth Initiative, SIGI. As a result of that initiative, $193 million have been invested in developments, infrastructure developments across our province. $29 million is the cost to government, by the way, to basically eliminate the interest for a period of time on that financing. And then there are the partnerships that were represented by the Building Canada Fund, the Infrastructure Stimulus Initiative, and the RINC program. And here I want to thank the federal government for being true to their word about delivering those fundings, that funding in a timely way. And mostly I want to thank the municipalities again for identifying the projects. 446 major local infrastructure projects funded by those particular partnerships. And we've had other challenges to face here in the New Saskatchewan. It was a little wet this spring and summer in too many communities, too many places, too many corners of our province. Sudden and devastating storms pounded Maple Creek and Yorkton and North Battleford and Saskatoon and Quakatus and a number of other areas and communities. It was a difficult and challenging time for residents, and I saw firsthand what is very best about our province. You and officials and volunteers responding and meeting needs and giving of yourselves and making sure people who were in the most desperate of times had a place to stay, had accommodation, and had hope. And more than that, it underscored the importance of your work. A number of the communities hit had just gone through some emergency measures planning. As serendipity would have it, I think Maple Creek, that was the case. In Mayor Hamilton, I think that was the case in North Battleford. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for the emergency planning that municipalities do on an ongoing basis. We never know the impact of that training until we're faced with something like the floods that we saw this spring.